we don't have to do that topic. I was literally just throwing ideas out there.
Sure.
And Sean had just sent me a text telling me that he was an attacker and telling me about his FTP test, which I mentioned earlier, but
Check, chickadee, check.
I'm not hearing anything.
Hello, hello. Oops, turned on.
Yep, there it is. Okay, I'm hearing stuff now.
Look good.
I should have known better. Cream. I should have known better. Coffee cream.
Oh, that's right.
It's all sabotage, actually.
No, I usually.
Now that I think about it, it's sabotage.
It is. That's exactly. What
Actually,
it is.
there's no coffee in your coffee. There's no coffee.
It's just nothing but cream.
It's just whipped cream, basically. Like, what would be even fatter than that? It's just
Cream. I literally think just the creamer would be
a little lard to go with it.
Yeah. Butter. Oh, you could do like the keto butter coffee or whatever.
There's got to be something worse. Put on weight.
That's pretty bad. Butter coffee.
The bottom half of that cup is lard.
Just pig fat.
Just cooking lard.
Just nothing but bacon.
I'm determined to win by sabotage.
Sabotage.
Wait, now these microphones set up slightly differently?
I did. I dropped it down
Yeah.
so people could see us better.
So we can see my face. Yeah. Unfortunately. That does look like a better visual, Jake.
Yeah, I should pull it up.
We'll be getting started in just a moment, folks.
Can they all see us now?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Nice.
All right. You guys about ready to get started?
I'm ready.
As Matt gets up and leaves the room.
No, I'm trying to tilt slightly sideways so that people can see.
The beautiful ladies and gentlemen of the internet.
Your very average face.
That's right. So I can address the ladies and gentlemen of the internet.
It's a good thing that we both have radio faces, you know.
Radio. I've always been told that. Always been told that.
And I have a voice for silent TV.
Okay, let's get started, guys.
Dope.
Hi, and welcome to the Dialed Podcast. I am Jake Von During, and today I'm here with Evan Price.
I'm sitting in Lance's chair. Do I have to say the Lance Romance thing?
Yes,
I'm sitting here today with Evan Romance.
Evan Romance. Nice. Oh, that feels good. Okay. It'll be gone by next week, but it'll last one podcast. How's it going?
Good. And everybody's friend, Mr. Matt Legrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs?
And today, Lance is on a boat.
Literally on a boat.
On a boat.
Cue music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a boat song somewhere, right?
There is a boat.
On
The kids.
a boat. There's like a Saturday Night Live
Yeah.
boat song, I think.
Yeah, there is.
Just another one of those injustices of the world. Lance being Lance. So
Yeah. I don't think he's riding a bicycle.
No,
There's no way.
he's riding waves and
He'll come
Riding
back
a
with
boat.
I guarantee he somehow found a way to squeeze in like 10 hours
I
somehow.
also found this awesome underwater bike thing that you can ride. It's pretty cool.
I wonder if it's driving him crazy not being able to bike.
It is. You know it is.
He
Yeah.
bikes so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Good stuff.
It is.
Let's start with our back pedal. Matt, you want to back pedal
Sure.
for us?
Yes. I was talking. I swam with Evan this morning again, which was fantastic. We literally come straight from the pool to
Right
the
there.
podcast. Yeah,
Still smelling like chlorine.
reeking of chlorine and work, and yeah. So swimming's going great. I think I'm not positive about this, but I think last week was my all-time longest swim week.
Woo!
So, which still isn't actually that impressive.
we don't need to say the actual yardage
let's
because
not
then
talk
any high
numbers.
schooler listening to this will be
Right,
like, yeah, I do that
exactly.
on Tuesday.
That's a day, right?
Yeah.
I think I swam 18,000 meters or something like that, and that's someone's day.
Yeah.
For if you're big time.
I think that's more than I've swam in, I don't know, last decade or two of my life.
Yeah.
Hey, if Jake's having to swim 1,800, something went really, really bad if you're swimming 18,000 meters.
Yeah. That's. I mean, I wonder how much Lance is going to get in swimming. He's going to get some meters in.
Well, if we count the boat movement, he's going to be way past you.
Crush it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then biked a little, not a lot. I did the group ride, which was really fun
Mm-hmm.
on Tuesday. Super cool.
Yeah, I'd have missed that one.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe this one. Maybe next Tuesday.
I'll be there tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And let's see. A little bit of running. I'm still kind of just trying to, like, my long run is 8 miles, which, for any real runner, that's an easy distance run. But you won't believe who I saw on the trails yesterday.
Who'd you see, Matt?
Whitney Phillips.
Really?
It was
Oh.
awesome. Yeah, I was
Hey.
so pumped. Like,
Very cool.
he was running the other direction, and he was like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And I was like, "Oh, hey, I'll run with you." And he was like, "No, no, no, I'm going to the boat ramp." And I was like, "Oh no, I'll go to the boat ramp." And he was like, "Oh, okay, well, I'll just turn around. That's cool." And so we ran
Get
together.
away from me, Matt.
It was great.
Beat it, kid.
And so it was awesome. We ran together for, I don't know, mile and a half or something like that. It was really nice on the trails.
Good.
And
Well, real quick, how did your foot and ankle feel?
everything's feeling okay, not great. And so what I'm trying to do is get the basic stuff in, like the long run once a week, and then I'll try to introduce some really light, easy stuff, kind of throughout the week, and that's it. Just not a lot. I mean, it'll probably end up being 15 miles a week, 15, 20 miles a week, and that's it. That's
Yep.
it. And then I'll do that until
It feels
things
good.
come around, and if not, I can do an Ironman off of basically that plus building up the long run a little bit. I don't have to do a ton of speed stuff if it comes to that. It won't be an impressive Ironman race, but it is what it is. So yeah,
You still have a couple months.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I have lots of time. Yeah, so backpedal was good.
Good.
Week was solid.
How about you, Evan? How was your week, bud?
I have begun to lose my voice as I have this smoky, like, sounding voice right now. Like I
smoking.
like I just smoked. Yeah,
This
that's
might
what
be
this
over your
sounds
head and through your toes, but you want to do some smelly cat for us?
That's that's way over my head. What is? I feel like Lance
It's like
over here now.
Friends.
Yeah, it was Friends. There was
yeah.
a Phoebe. Every time she got sick, she'd lose her voice, and she loved her voice. When
So now I'm like Phoebe.
and she wrote
from
a song
Friends.
called "Smelly Cat" that she sung only when she was sick. It was pretty funny, but
I should sing "Smelly Cat" for this podcast. But yeah, outside of that,
You feel like you're getting sick though?
no, I feel fine.
Just losing the voice.
I really think it was probably from training in the wind yesterday. It was a lot of wind yesterday, and I was swallowing all of it. So yeah,
It's been so windy.
it has.
It's like it's
been very windy.
I don't want to run outside because I like to run on the trails, and there's
Yeah.
just lots of trees falling, and then I don't
A
like
lot
to,
of branches
I
down.
don't like to go bike in
Do
the
not
wind.
want to get hit by a branch.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. Yep. So I think my training week my last 2 training weeks have almost been identical. Like I think I had a slight bump up.
I can't remember how much last week was. How much are we talking about?
They were both right almost at 23 hours both.
Jeez.
So I think I can hold that for a long time now. It did not feel that hard. I feel good today. I feel fine.
so what's the breakdown of that 23 hours?
So that's between 15 and 20K in the pool. I'm going to build up to 20K here.
Yeah.
Feeling a lot better in the pool.
For us people that don't swim and don't equate things in Ks, how much time?
Like
in the water?
hours.
Yeah.
Like 4 or 5 hours.
It's got to be more than that. 'Cause
It'll start to be
you
more
got to
than that
figure
here.
an hour and 15 per swim about.
Yeah.
And you're doing 5 of those.
Yeah, so it'll be closer to 6 once I get over
Yeah.
20K.
Yeah. Something like that.
So like 6 hours, which to me pool time feels the longest. Like 1 hour in the pool is like 1 hour on the bike is like, I mean, you can make it hard, but 1 hour on the bike can feel pretty easy.
Yeah.
To me, 1 hour run, that's your base run.
Yeah.
1 hour in the pool to me still doesn't feel super easy.
I think it's just the part of. I think that's how the sport is.
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah.
biking, like you're outside biking and you get to 1 hour and you're like, I feel like I just
Warmed
started.
up. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just getting going.
So.
Yeah. But yeah,
How about the running part? How much time there?
over 60. So I'm going to be sitting in the 60s here from now till a long
So
time.
time
For us people that don't do a lot of running,
Yeah.
how much time is that, Evan?
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to
7 or
calculate.
8 hours. It'll depend more on the pacing with the running, but let's say I'm running overall through an entire week like 7:20 pace, roughly 7:30 pace. That puts me right at that like 7 to 8 hours, maybe a little bit over 8 hours at times.
Gotcha.
And then the biking, I only go purely on. I'm not like Lance does miles. I know he always likes to track
Yeah.
it by miles. I go purely on time off the bike,
Yeah, same.
and it's been 11 hours.
Good
so
for you, man.
Not
we'll see.
bad, Yeah.
I may need to bump that up a little bit.
I need to drink a cup of coffee here just to. I'm tired just listening to this. So.
I think I was almost exactly half of your workouts.
See, but that's good. But and the funny thing is that you're still beating me a little bit in the pool, like yardage wise. You're still beating me a little
I'm
bit.
swimming the same amount that you are. I'm
That's
just not
true.
doing running and biking.
That's true.
So
Yeah. Yeah, but
There's a lot of time too for biking.
Yeah.
If you think about it, so
yeah,
you can add up hours quick.
definitely. I got to hand it to Matt here. I thought for sure so on today's swim, I was feeling really good the whole time. And Matt, what was it? Like our very last hard one, you're like, okay, let's do 200 hard. In my head, I'm like, I think I finally got Matt here. I think I've got him. And I did not have him. He got me by 3 seconds on the 200.
I think we were close though. I mean, we were really close.
We were close, but that last 25, you put time into me.
A lot of it's I mean, just like familiarity with the pool and, like my turns are going my turns
I don't know if familiarity with the pool is a good excuse for me. It's all water. So.
It's all water. I mean, we get into open water and you would crush me. So
that's okay. Well,
yeah,
we did some fun sets today. We're doing IMs now. So I guess we're like bad swimmers now. We're below average swimmers officially now.
Like real swimmers.
Yeah.
But not real fast.
And I got to last part of I got to throw a big shout out to David Goodman, who I rode with yesterday.
Yeah.
Took a strong KOM over Dustin.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Got him by like 5 seconds on this segment.
Where was it?
It's the segment's called Hell of the North, and it's called that because it's close to Evergreen Highway. It's the really bad part of that road where you're like dodging potholes the entire time.
I've double flatted at the same time because the potholes are so
They
bad
are,
there.
I think I probably put out 50 watts for that segment because I was just bunny hopping the entire time.
Yeah.
And David just sat in and just grinded away and took the KOM.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
good.
Did
for
you
him,
lead
man.
out for him?
No, I mean he
was just doing his own
well,
thing.
like me and Kim were talking. All of a sudden, we look up and David is just hammering away, and I'm like,
That's awesome.
Oh, all right, well, let him
get
go.
him.
Yeah, we went out and did intervals at Vancouver Lake later, and that was kind of where I put in my efforts. But yeah,
So you went out on Evergreen.
yeah,
and then intervals out at
Vancouver Lake. Well,
Lake.
yeah, and then I came back on. Obviously, I know a lot of people listening to this don't know what mill plane is, but imagine your most suburban stoplighted road possible with nothing but plazas on both sides. I did that for 10 miles into a block headwind. It was supposed to be my recovery coming back. And I think I was putting out my threshold wattage for the entire time.
You're going like 7 miles an hour.
Yeah, there's a bus right behind me just getting I'm sure I threw the bus off his schedule, but yeah.
Yeah, those winds can get you pretty good.
I
I can
know.
remember sometimes riding down by the river. And I remember it was like on New Year's Day, it was 3 years ago. I was going into the headwind.
Yeah.
I was laying down 450 or 475 watts,
Going, 12 miles an hour?
11 miles an hour.
Oh, my God.
It was nuts. I mean, I was in full tuck position trying to push as hard as I could. I'm like, this is ridiculous. If I'd stopped, it would have blown me backward. That's how good it was going. But
And this is where where I used to live in Ada, Ohio. Ada was got to be the windiest part of that region by far. The biggest elevation was a highway overpass. And I know a couple of my Ohio Northern buddies, listen to this podcast, so they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. There were days like that exact thing you're talking about, Jake. That was no lie every single day in Ada. Once you hit the block headwind, you were going 11 or 12 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And that was trying not to tip over. Like your only option was to put out 400 watts.
yeah, that's nature's gem right there.
Yeah.
So
But yeah,
You gotta
definitely make sure.
plan your KOMs accordingly.
Whew, yeah.
I mean, I know
Yeah.
in like Northern California, there's a spot that I go, occasionally, and it's like you just find that windy day and you look at the segments and you're just like, this is the one.
Tailwind.
This is what you do. I mean, like, in all the times everyone's doing the same thing. It's not like
Yeah.
you're not a genius for figuring that one out.
No.
So
yeah.
No. All right.
My back pedal.
Jake.
You guys ever have one of those weeks where, like, from the time that we finished our podcast to right now, I don't feel like I've sat down. I feel like I've been going like 100 miles an hour every single day.
And somehow you're still barely behind.
No, I'm behind. Trust me. I just had one of those weeks. It was super busy with like a bunch of OBRA obligations. We had like board meetings, and then we had our annual meeting for the OBRA organization. It's a 3-hour meeting. Not the funnest thing, but we got some business done there, which was kind of nice. And it's open for all members to come in, and we talk about stuff from, what's going on and how the health of the organization. We went through some rule change propositions and kind of hammered through all that stuff. And then we had the awards party after that, which was super cool. If you guys look up there.
I was going to say, did you bring
look
home
up
an
there,
award?
This is what I wanted to mention.
Perhaps. I want to
2018 team champions
Of the year.
of the year. Yep. So we got
That's a big award, Jake.
It's-
That is a big, important
It's
award.
crazy.
That's
I didn't
it is.
realize.
not too shabby for year two.
I
I
can't
feel like we need to be playing some congratulations music right now because this is, I mean, think about where how long ago did the team first start? I've got to think about it.
We just finished our second year.
That's what I thought.
It was like
so we're barely over 2 years now.
Yeah, we formulated about 2 years ago this month.
Almost on the
Yeah,
dot.
I mean, I've been working on it, like some of the foundational
Ideas.
stuff in the background and the ideas and kind of getting it set up. But we formally started in January of 2017.
Jeez. And this was like you and Michael, and you were like, "Hey, what do you think about this idea?"
Yeah,
he's
we're just on
like-
a ride, and
he's like,
I knew
"That's
I
a
wanted
great
to do
idea."
it, and I'm like,
we should
"Hey,
make a club.
I'm going to start a team. You want to help me?" He looked at me and said, "Well, I can't use that language right now, but bleep, yeah." So it was from that moment on that we've just been hammering this thing out, and it's been a real fun ride.
It's crazy.
So that was a great time. We had a bunch of people on our team win bar championships, which is best all-around rider. We took home a lot of hardware. It was awesome. It was a great night. It was fun hearing so-and-so dialed cycling team, so-and-so dialed cycling team, always getting these awards. And we just had a great night. So
And that's big because, I mean, you think about it from statewide organization and size of competition, Obra, what, number 1 or 2, maybe 3 at the furthest down in the nation?
It's
Maybe
pretty-
California, Colorado would be the only 2 maybe ahead.
yeah, there are over 100 teams in the organization. And then
That's got to
obviously
be, is that more than Colorado?
it's up there.
That'd be an interesting stat to look at. It'd be close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to bring that around for another conversation. But
Yeah.
you've got that, and you've got 35 or 3,600 total people in the organization, which is pretty stinking good considering it only encompasses Oregon, Southern Washington, and parts of Idaho. There's some people that come over from Idaho for some of our racing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's it was
And like not terribly populated area. I mean, outside of Portland,
yeah.
you're not talking about a whole lot of dense population
Yeah.
areas like
Well,
Southern California.
Yeah,
so.
when we had Chuck Keelan in here, we're talking about Bend was like 100 and something thousand people there.
Like right on 100,000.
And
I
that's
think,
got to
now,
be
yeah.
what, maybe like the third biggest city, outside
For
of
cycling. Yeah, definitely.
So anyway, that was a great night, and then I just was super busy with work and riding that stinking trainer a lot. So I put in
I was gonna
think,
say
10 hours and 15 minutes. Or
Oh, you're over 10. That's
Yeah,
I
so
thought you were
I was
close.
stalking you a little bit, and you put in some good work. I think you put in 110 miles this weekend.
yeah, Saturday and Sunday just on the
That's
trainer. It was,
solid, dude.
Yeah, it was about 5 hours on the trainer on
That's
Saturday
awesome.
and Sunday.
Did
so-
you watch a movie or something?
No, I am really enjoying
You stare at the
watching
wall?
YouTube videos.
Yeah? Nice.
It's just, it gives me a chance to plug into stuff that I've always wanted to learn. That's what I've been doing ever since I got back on the trainer. I dabbled a little bit with the movies, but like we talked about, if you're trying to follow a program, if you get into a long involved movie and you're focused on that, you're not paying attention to your watts. And you're like, or if you're doing an erg mode program and you're watching a movie and all of a sudden you go from being at like 200 watts to it's like, all right, we're going to do this 450 watt interval set for, a minute. And like you just get bombed on.
I did the same thing yesterday. I was like, okay, I did my long run, and I just want to do an easy hour on the bike, just spin it out,
Yeah.
And I turned on some like mountain biking stuff,
Yeah.
like YouTube,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh my gosh, the watts were like spiking up, and I was like, too hard,
Yeah.
go easy.
That's a movie ride. You see, you do, if you're just spinning, you can watch the movie.
Yeah, that's
if you
true.
need the intervals, you got to throw on cyclocross races or something.
Oh yeah, and triathlon. I did triathlon races the day before. That was pretty good too. Yeah,
I'm
You
big
get-
on.
get amped.
Have you watched the Super League stuff?
Yes,
Best stuff to sit there and
it's really
race.
good.
Oh, it's
It is really
entertaining.
good. Yeah,
That and like Criterium Pro Racing.
Yeah.
Love it.
that stuff makes me like I can feel the blood pressure going up. I'm
Yep.
like, oh, don't crash. Super intense. I don't feel like the ITU guys are gonna crash, or at least the stuff I was watching didn't seem like they were that on the edge.
No.
But like all the mountain biking stuff,
Yeah.
it's very intense.
And that's what I love about YouTube. You can kind of hone it in on, whatever
Exactly
it is
what
that
you
you want.
want.
And it's
Yeah.
not like one long drawn out thing. It's usually like 10, 5, 15, 20-minute chunks. And
Thank goodness for Red Bull TV. Like
Yeah.
Red Bull TV, you can just go to their YouTube channel and just endless awesome videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is way off topic. You guys ever watch the cliff diving world championships?
No.
Oh, it's just do yourself a favor next time you're on the trainer, watch the cliff diving world
Could be
championships.
today. Is that? Oh, see, I need an easy ride today. So is that like cliff diving?
Oh, it's
easy?
awesome. Yeah.
Is that going to make an easy ride?
It's
or
like
is
the
that
most
gonna be
peaceful thing you'll ever
Okay,
see.
cool.
It's
Good.
like a guy falling from 100 feet and he just lands gracefully in the water.
Right.
And I
Wow.
think of what I would look like doing that. It'd be tragic. That would be terrible.
floating on the water when it was all said and done. Okay, hey, real quick before we get into all things rest of the podcast, weight challenge update. Evan, how you doing, bud?
Okay, so I have a confession here. I don't think there's any way I'm going to win this thing. I'm back. I'm back to 155.
Okay.
I was at 154 last week.
I thought you were going to channel your inner Skeletor.
Inner Skeletor is not able to come out. It's not, and I can't bump my training up much anymore.
Yeah, you're good on training.
So I don't think there's any way, unless maybe, I don't know, because I've even been doing a lot of my training fasted. Like I did 6 hours of training almost on, what day was it, Sunday, and I think I only had like a banana and a Cliff Bar during the training day.
Yeah.
And then, I ate a big dinner afterwards. But even then, it's like my body's just at its stasis right now. It's not wanting to drop below that 154.
Yes. I have more good news for you, Jake.
Oh, no.
Could you gain more weight?
No, I'm not losing. Well, I mean, okay, so I did not do a proper weigh-in this morning. I had like a bagel and some coffee and stuff like that. So it might be a little bit off, but I think I'm only like 1 pound down.
That's excellent.
That's excellent news for you.
And that's why you're over here bringing me coffee. I'm like, hey, Matt, can you grab me some black coffee? And comes back with like all this rich creamer.
Yeah,
I thought
I
thought you were serious with your text, Jake. What are you actually? Jake had texted us that he was starved himself for 4 days and was at 165. And I was like, oh, it's over. It's over by a lot.
No, I am down a few pounds.
How much?
Oh no.
Because when you get to like 6 or 7 pounds,
we're in trouble.
I'm gonna have to.
I'm about 4 down.
Okay, only 4 down.
We're gonna be in trouble.
I saw
Monday.
more because I did a fasted ride. I had, it'd been, we'll call it about 12 hours. Jumped on, did my ride, and I still stayed fasted for the rest of the day. But after that ride, I think it was down like 7. But obviously water weight. But and it obviously came back really quickly as soon as I started eating. But it's starting to kind of come in. I'm really trying to pay close attention to my diet and really starting to tweak with it and making sure that I'm making all the little right steps. So
I had a brownie last night.
Yeah.
That's how focused I am.
I had a beer this weekend. I mean, I didn't drink a lot. I think I just had one, but it's like I'm not doing like when I have done these competitions with Jake in the past. I focus pretty hard and not doing what I should.
Once Lance come back, you need to focus, because if Lance blows past everybody and wins this, I'm going to be mad.
Well, Lance is eating.
He's
eating cinnamon rolls.
He's going to have to lose like 20 pounds when he comes back.
Do you guys feel like we should give Lance an out and be like, hey,
No.
you should reweigh yourself and then try to lose 10 pounds?
I
think we should.
He's got to lose 20 from where he comes back.
I feel like we should give him this.
Well, let's cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah.
If
Let's
it's
see what he's
comical and
sitting
he
at.
did gain a lot of weight, then we'll let him like kind of start over. So.
We'll let him go off like a ratio factor then or something.
Because I feel like that would be fun to be like, all right, he's giving us 2 weeks, and he's starting.
Well, we don't have to weigh back in, because then that means that I'm dropping down to weight that's not possible for me.
All right, before we move on again, there's one more little thing that just popped up here. We have a question on our chat from the live YouTube stream, because we do YouTube stream this thing now.
We do the YouTube.
Jesse Tonkinson has a question on Heck of the North. He said that David put out 281 watts for 5 minutes and 15 seconds, and Dustin put out 362 watts for 5:19. Was there some wind assistance yesterday?
I do not believe on that segment there was. Okay, so here, Jesse, and this is something that me and David make fun of Dustin a lot for. Dustin is a tank and puts out a ton of wattage, but he's dense. So Dustin weighs more than you would think.
Yeah.
David
I think
does
he weighs
not weigh
about 190
a lot.
pounds, if I'm not mistaken. But he
maybe
is
even north of that.
But he's lean.
He is
super lean.
Oh,
it's muscle.
he is nothing but muscle.
Right.
Like literally, he is a brick wall.
Yeah, he's that guy that those pictures you see of the guy walking off the track, like the sprinters that have like their massive
he's a track
tree
cyclist.
trunk. Yeah,
he is
with he's chiseled up top.
Yeah,
but
and also the thing about that, because Tonk, I'm sure you've ridden that segment before. The line you pick, I think, means a massive difference there.
That's true.
So Strava's guesstimating that wattage. Depending on the line you pick,
guesstimating if it's being derived from a power meter.
Oh, is his being directly derived? Well, Strava will always guestimate mine, and I have no power meter hooked up to it.
Yeah, if you don't have a power meter, it will guesstimate. But it is if you have a power meter, That's
It
where it
syncs
takes the
directly
information
up
from.
to it. Oh,
and you
okay.
can tell when you look on there if there's a little lightning bolt next to the information of the power number.
Yeah.
That means that it was derived from a power meter. And if there is none, then they're just estimating what
Yeah.
you put down.
And how,
I'd have to
David
think
is-
about watts per kilo here to see how close they were then on that
I don't want
segment.
to take anything away from David because that's still a monster.
No, because I would remember if there was a big wind aid. There wasn't a big wind aid, but there may have been
Probably been
enough to
some,
make up a 10 second
because
sort
it
of
has been
difference
windy
there.
for the last 3 days.
It has,
So Saturday,
but
Sunday, Monday.
that segment's decently protected from the wind, kind of on both sides there.
I'm guessing David is he's lighter than any of us, I would expect.
Me and David are very close to the same weight, but I think he's probably about 152, 153, 154. He sits right in that range. Yeah.
Oh, I smell a showdown coming up. Dustin, David.
Oh, trust me. So Dustin's training in Hawaii right now.
Yeah.
So me, Dustin, and David do a lot of riding together.
Yeah.
And there will definitely be a showdown. And I love you, David, but Dustin's going to lay down the hammer, and it's going to be over because Dustin does not lose one-on-one matchups.
No. Yeah,
He's a beast.
Yep. The only thing I can get Dustin on is when we do Sky. When we do Sky Road, because it's a long enough, steep enough climb,
Yeah.
I can get away from him.
Sucker.
That Gibson's not long enough. He's going to get me on Gibson every
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
That's impressive.
All right, let's move this show right along.
Yep.
We have kind of a new segment. We just made it up not too long ago. The segment is called Evan Wants to Know.
Mm-hmm.
We started talking about like some potential segments, and Evan started talking about this question. We're like, no, hold on.
So I don't know what
Save
this
it
is.
for the podcast.
I was getting coffee, so I don't even
Yeah.
know. I'm going in blind.
I was
This is good.
busy.
Well, Evan started talking about rider types.
Oh,
So
gotcha, rider types.
that's the topic, and I'm gonna let Evan take it from here.
So what we're going to talk about is we're going to go through different, rider types, but also kind of trying to explain that to everybody. Because I think on our last segment, I had mentioned like, hey, everybody should start watching professional cycling. But when you watch professional cycling, they're going to throw around a lot of like
Terms.
descriptions and terms and adjectives that if you don't watch professional cycling,
Right.
you may have no idea what they're talking about. And there are a lot of different types of riders out there. So this is like when, especially if you're somebody who watches professional cycling, imagine the frustration trying to explain it's like trying to explain American football to somebody who has never watched American football.
Yeah.
Like, what do you say? Why are they lining up that way?
Yeah.
Like, why does the quarterback hand it off to the guy behind him?
Right.
So what we're going to talk through is just, we're going to kind of spit out a bunch of different types of riders and talk about what that means to us and a couple people that we know that are like that. So we'll go through kind of like the obvious ones at first. So your obvious ones are like, who are like your time trialist specialist. Now, this is less common in the amateur world, more common in the professional world, because obviously they race more time trials in the professional segment. But I mean, the one that comes to mind obviously for all of us is Mike Myers was a time trialist specialist, also a really good cyclist, but he was on another level as a time trialist.
Mm-hmm.
You could take cyclists that can maybe hang with him on a road course, put them all on aero bikes in a time trial, and he's going to blow them away. Yeah. So, that's kind of an easier one right there. Another one, I know Jake's got the list up here, but sprinter, climber are like the two most commonly used.
In sprinter, we were just talking about Dustin. I mean, I consider him potentially a sprinter type. I mean,
he's a sprinter with some Pursuit would be, and any track cyclist I think coming over is going to be a sprinter once they hit the road. Now, this is the interesting thing though, is in the track world, there are even people that they would consider pure sprinter track guys. So not guys who are going to be hanging on the front for very long, but that last 50 meter, 100 meter sprint, they're guys that just have a 5-second power that's untouchable.
Crazy.
Yeah. That fills the gap for nobody at this table. But Jake would be the closest thing I think that we have to somebody with solid 5-second power.
And you know what? Lance actually,
yes,
he's not at the table, but he, I don't think it's a secret. Like he'll openly talk about like looking at some of the data from a cyclocross ride where he'll hit 2,000 watts, for a very short amount of time, right? That's peak power. But
do you think he's really hitting 2,000 watts though?
It could be. Who knows? I don't.
That's a mountain of watts.
It is.
That's rarefied air.
But also his, I mean, think about his athletic background was an elite D1 decathlete.
But still, I mean, if you look at the pro peloton,
How many guys are putting out 2,000
there's-
watts?
Well, the true sprinters, but
Yeah.
that's really
They're
pretty
still
rare.
not even putting out that many watts though. They're probably 1,800 watts.
So
I don't like Cav and
We need-
who else like
yeah.
Ripple, Gaviria.
Gaviria, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
But even those
could have been
smaller guys,
calibration issue. I mean,
It
could
could
have been-
be,
could be,
but-
or it could be his left right doubling, right? Because I
Yeah.
don't know if he has dual sided power meter, doesn't he? Anyway,
he does now, but yeah,
but I mean, it could be something like that where it's doubling something that is off.
Because I mean, I've done a lot of sprints in my day.
Yeah.
I've never.
What's the
come
biggest number
even
you've ever
close
seen?
to that?
2,000 is, I mean, like, but if you talk to the pro sprinters, like,
Yeah,
that's,
I think
that's pretty rare.
the biggest number I've ever seen is just shy of 1,700 watts, and to put out another
a lot of
300 on
watts.
top of that,
crazy.
there's
And it was
very few
it was
humans on the
over
face of the planet.
2,000. Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. So maybe it was just a fluke, and I
Yeah.
think maybe that's the way Lance would probably describe it too. Was like, hey, I saw this number.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean it's like real. Like it's not reproduce. Who knows if it's reproducible
Yeah.
or not? But that'd
Yeah.
be a great question for Lance. But he
Yeah.
is on a boat.
On a
I don't
boat.
know. I would have to. I mean, I've seen some of his sprints when he really gets going, and I'll tell you, I would not be surprised if it's right at Jake's number that he was just talking
17.
about. Yeah,
Yeah.
but two seems like a lot. And this is where, so even in the pro peloton, when you're looking at a lot of these sprinters, you look at, I think the best example is a guy like Caleb Ewan, very, very aero sprinter.
Yeah.
Stays very low profile,
Right.
little guy too for a sprinter. Compare his top wattage to somebody like Greipel,
Yeah.
who literally is like a wind sail and just a monster on the bicycle. I'm sure Greipel's putting over 2,000
Yeah.
watts. He has to be.
And
And I wouldn't be surprised if
Yeah.
Ewan and Caleb and you are putting out similar watts because I mean he's got, what is he, like 100, probably 50, 160 pounds?
Yeah.
He
he's
can't be
not-
that much.
I just don't think he's a tall person.
No, he's not.
And he gets so low on
He
the
gets
bike.
very
like, he's like
aero.
licking
He's
his
like
front,
Cav
front
too.
wheel.
Yeah.
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 yeah, I think that's part of my problem too. Is I need to get more aero in my sprints.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I'm going to work on when I get back into that mode. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? What else you got, man?
So we go from sprinter talking about, everybody always tries to talk about these classifications as like what type of wattage numbers you have, but it does also have a lot to do with form. So like the sprint form. Climbing though this is the thing. It's always funny to me because like GCN. So anybody who is a YouTuber person has probably seen GCN out there. They always talk about like best technique to climb. I always find that really funny to look at because you're going to get a bunch of different answers. The greatest climber maybe of all time, and this can be debated. I'm sure somebody will comment and say, no, you're wrong. I think Alberto Contador was the greatest climber of all time at his best. Also, some of his like watts per kilo numbers were absolutely crazy. But with climbing, I want to talk about what actually watts per kilo means because I'm sure some people listen to this know what that means and some don't.
Yeah.
Watts per kilo is the single most important number with climbing. It is the one number you can't lie to, and this is why I really think climbing has become probably the most romanticized and important part of cycling. I would say like your best cyclists historically that people will talk about are your best climbers. So the guys winning the Tour de France, the guys winning the Giro, the guys winning the Tour of Spain, they're all good climbers. And what that means is the exact watts that you put out, per kilogram of your own weight. So it's literally the number that you can directly compare to somebody and say, I'm a better climber than you, or I'm not a better climber than you.
But that really only comes into play once you get over a certain percent
Yes.
grade. And that's where
Yeah.
gravity has to have a certain impact, and that's where
Yeah.
that number really starts to pay dividends. Do you happen to know off the top of your head what that grade percentage is?
I think it was 8 to 10%,
I
isn't
think
it?
that you're right,
I think
yeah,
I think
pretty
that's the number I've usually seen is 8 to 10%. Yeah. That's also where bike weight starts to matter. So I would imagine that's where obviously body weight
And it
starts to matter.
obviously has to be a sustained climb too.
Yes.
Because if you're going to do that 8 to 10% for, I don't know, a quarter mile or something like that, the big guy's probably still going to win because he's going to muscle through.
Exactly.
But
and
stretch that out, and it's a different story.
and this is where I would say a good climber is somebody that you're talking about that stretched out effort.
Yep.
As opposed to a punchy climber. And this is a term that you'll hear the announcers in the races use a lot, is punchy. That's the guy who, let's say you hit a bunch of like 1 or 2 minute 6% segments. The guy who's punchy is going to be great at coming up and down those. And that could be a heavier guy.
Yeah.
So somebody with a little bit higher watt ceiling.
Yeah, even like Peter Sagan, who
Perfect
is
example, yeah.
he is a sprinter by some sort of classification. He can do really well in those short, punchy climbs to the finish because
Yep.
he's got that power that he can push through. And
Yeah. And this is what makes somebody, to me, somebody like Valverde very, very special.
Yeah.
Is so
absolutely.
he's a Spanish guy who is really rare in today's professional game because he's very competitive at the 1-day races, but he also can be competitive over a Tour of Spain, or even I think he's had a couple good performances at the Tour de France in his career too.
Absolutely.
So he has that ability to be punchy over those 2-3 minute segments, but also can hang on to, the Team Sky train for 20-30 minutes going up.
He's arguably one of the few riders that you could say is like, maybe one of the top all-arounders, just because he can kind of do
He can sprint too. He's shown the ability to.
He's definitely won a lot.
He's not going to line out and sprint against Greipel, but in a broken sprint.
When you see a couple people coming in, like you can bet on him.
Yes, exactly.
When, something like that. He's cagey, right? Like
cagey is a good word for that.
He can. Well, I mean, he finds himself in the right spot a lot of times from what I've seen.
You read my mind, Matt. The next word is a cagey rider, which is. This is weird because I've heard cagey used for a ton of different types of riders.
Yeah.
So I think cagey is almost a word that like, I'll leave that one over for the table. How would you guys describe a cagey rider?
It's that person that, for the way I was using it, was like that person that always seems to find themselves in the right spot at the right time. And you're just like, wait a minute, like he might not be the best absolute climber, but here he is.
Yeah.
Like he's how cool is that? Like here's this cagey guy that probably shouldn't be here, but he's here. And so that to me is like, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I'm not the biggest fan of Valverde. Like I'll lay that out here right now. But
he tested positive and has some.
I've always got a bad vibe from him, but at the same time, I don't know. I mean, Movie Star. I think they may be the best team in the very near future. I'm just not the hugest fan of that team, but he is to be respected for what he's done in cycling. He's old too. I mean, I don't know how old he is.
He's
30, late 30s or something.
I'm going to look this up, but I think he's like 38. I'm going to guess 38.
So we should try to ask for help from commentary. Yeah. But yeah, he's older for sure.
Yeah. Jake, what's your definition of a cagey rider?
Matt hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a question that, because I've heard Peter Sagan get described as cagey, but also I've heard Tom Dumoulin be described as cagey.
Okay.
Which are two completely different types of. Actually, you really couldn't think there may be no two different riders than those two.
But both of those people can end up in the right position at the right
exactly.
time.
For different reasons.
For different reasons.
Yeah.
Like, and Peter Sagan's a great example, right? Where he's like, he always, like, his team isn't like, he's not on a studly team, but he ends up in the right position for the sprint all the time.
Yeah, and he doesn't need his team to do that.
It's funny because it's like, it's not getting a lot of help here, but he still is always in the mix.
Yep.
And then Tom Dumoulin, right, where it's kind of the same thing. Like his team's not helping him as much as like Team Sky, right?
Yeah.
But like there he is, in the mix to win the whole tour. Like
hanging on.
That's yes, they're different. Yes, one is like vying for a sprint, and the other one's maybe like an overall like potential points winner. But they're still kind of that kind of cagey athletes that finding themselves in the right spot at the right time, or potentially finding themselves in a spot that they shouldn't necessarily be if you just kind of look at the numbers or the team positions or the team standings or whatever it is. It's pretty cool to watch. I mean, those people kind of tug at our heartstrings, right? Where it's yes, you got to pull for them a little bit, right? Because they shouldn't be there. They don't have the help that everyone else has, and here they are.
Yep.
So
That for me was always, growing up, I always loved watching Nibali race that way because he's a great descender. So like cagey, I always think like good descender because it's like you may get dropped on those pure climbs, but the guy like somehow finds a way to like put 45 seconds into people on a descent or some like weird segment of the race where he can just somehow get himself back in, which is always fun to watch. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, and a lot of times too, when you're watching descents, like I feel like the cameras, the videography of those descents, they get lost. Yeah. Like everyone gets lost on these descents.
That's because the motorbikes will lose the cyclists sometimes.
Absolutely.
That's how fast those guys are descending.
And when you're watching like the climbs, you can kind of see where everyone is, and it's slow. And I mean, it's not slow, but like it's action packed. But at the same time, it's slow enough that you know where everyone is, and this is there, and this person's here, and all of a sudden, it's like they're descending, and they're like, wait a minute. Vincenzo Nibali, he was gone, but now he's back. Like, how did that happen? Like, you don't know because the camera's never going to catch it. Yeah. So it seems like a surprise, like a cagey, like, how did that person do that? where he really just descended really well, and it's not on camera, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So now another type of rider going away from up or down grades. We're going to talk about when the road surface changes. So these are your cobbled riders. Not something in America that you see too terribly often. We don't, I mean, can anybody think of is there any cobbled areas in this area?
Nope.
Pretty new roads,
Yeah.
pretty 21st century roads.
We're all asphalted.
Yeah.
Evergreen Highway.
There you go.
That's like the
Where
closest
did
thing
you
that we
ride
have.
yesterday?
And I'm pretty sure Belgians would look at that and be like, this is the smoothest road that we have in our entire country. But so anybody who has watched before the Spring Classics, a lot of them are based around Belgium, and they are these set of races that large portions of them are done on cobbled roads. Now, I am not speaking from experience here. I have friends of mine who have ridden on those cobbles before, and whatever you're picturing, it's 20 times harder. It is. He literally said, it is staying on the bicycle is difficult.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you watch those races, those riders make it look easy.
Yeah.
Well,
Smooth and just almost
as
floating on-
easy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible to watch those races.
Yeah.
There was some competition, and I think it was like GCN or something like that. I don't remember who had the competition. And it was like, you win the chance to go ride like the Hell of the North or something like that. And I was like, do you win or do you lose if you get to do this? Like you get to go ride the course, and you get to, I think it was like you ride the course before the race or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's cool. Except for you have to be able to ride like this course, and it's not easy.
The closest thing that I can think of is doing a gravel ride on some not overly sized tires and on a road that is like, you get those little like washboard, like little ripples in it, and you get the gravel on it as well, and you just get that constant vibration and that rattle. That's the closest thing that I've done that before. It's not easy.
No.
It's not easy at all. And to do it for the volume of miles that they're doing, wow, hats off.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think that those riders, even the good ones, fear those cobbled sections, and they, they'll write them down and they'll have them on their stem. Like you're about to hit this section, and then, they know that they're going to go through 9 different cobbled sections, and they can tell like this is going to be the hard ones, and they're looking out for those particular sections because they're worried about them. I mean,
and
obviously.
they'll pretty strategically, approach them.
Yep.
So they'll hit them on the side of the road as much as they can.
Yeah.
Which is kind of this dirt segment where it's semi more smooth. But when you watch the races, the part that gets lost in that is as these guys are riding down the sides, they're kicking up a ton of dirt.
Yeah.
So the guys riding behind them, you're riding blind basically through some of the toughest stuff you can. I mean, it's incredible to think that they're racing on these. In these sort of conditions.
It seems to me like front shocks would be like,
oh my
looking
God,
at that,
yeah.
and I'm like, oh my gosh, how do you do that?
Yeah.
There's a lot of bikes that were born out of that racing for compliancy, just for softening
the
that.
Roubaix. I mean, there's literally the Roubaix bike. Yeah.
So you get a lot of these endurance compliant bikes that were kind of born out of that, and it has changed the way that we look at bikes and build bikes and whatnot, and it's created a whole genre of bikes. So
this is a little off subject. Jake, how do you think your shoulder would hold up with vibrations and things
right now?
Well, I mean, in the near future, I don't know. I mean,
not well. I wouldn't go out there and do it.
Something.
He'd
I would
probably
be
have to
riding
sit out
awfully
the
slow.
Spring Classics. I think he'd have to sit out the Spring Classic.
You're gonna sit out the Spring Classics.
It's just maybe for short periods of time. I just don't think it's stable enough to take that constant beating. But there are little things that come up all the time. You're going to hit inconsistencies in the road. You're going to hit something that might be slick or smooth, and you've got to be able to adjust that. And I just don't have that strength right now.
So for the near future, you're going to probably avoid rough roads.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
So
good to know.
Yeah. So another movie you guys should, or not movie, but definitely videos you should look up on YouTube if you want to see these guys in action is obviously Paris-Roubaix is the most famous. But my personal favorite race from the Spring Classics is the Tour of Flanders. And the reason is because they have climbs on the cobble. So Paris-Roubaix is deadpan flat.
Right.
Basically the entire race and ends on the velodrome, which is kind of interesting. You know,
which is cool.
Paris-Roubaix is an interesting race. You're doing cobbles and then you end it's a 2-lap sprint on the velodrome, I think is how they end.
is it only 2? I thought it was a couple more than that. But it's not very many.
I mean, right? Yeah. It's only a couple. And when they get on the velodrome, it's always crazy to see those end sprints because they've been racing for like 120 or 30 miles by that point.
I feel like last year was one of the years where it came down to 2 people.
Yeah, it was Sagan and who's the guy that was
Oh
with him?
God, who was there?
and that was just an epic
Was it
finish.
Terpstra? Was Terpstra with him?
Maybe,
No,
I don't know.
That was the year before.
I thought it was a
think.
quick step guy, but I'm not
Anyway,
sure. Yeah.
There
I
was
should- I
Sagan
should
who
look
won in 2018, though, correct?
Somebody correct us on that.
We should
Yeah.
look it up, but I just remember. I remember watching any. I mean, I feel like any of the years where you come down to two riders on the velodrome are like the classic story, right? Like it only
Yeah.
happens occasionally, and it's super interesting to watch them slow down.
Oh, yeah.
and wait for the sprint.
Track.
And it's
Yeah.
just like
Track
It's a
tactics.
major
Go
chess
first.
match right there. Yeah, it's fun.
It's pretty cool to watch. Yep.
So, but the thing I love about the Tour of Flanders is I have a good buddy of mine named Kid who I've brought up on this before who has taken trips to Europe, and he takes cycling photos very, very well. He does professional bike race photos too, and a lot of the Colorado circuit. But when he went to Europe, he did a lot of the Tour of Flanders course, and he has this awesome picture of the Koppenberg, which anybody wondering what the Koppenberg is, it is maybe the most important climb of the Tour of Flanders.
Right.
There's a couple that come later on in the race, but the Koppenberg is like the one that really famously Fabian Cancellara
Right.
like destroyed the field on. I think I'm
That's
gonna mess
the
up
one
the
where
year.
they were like Fabian Cancellara's got a mechanical,
Yes.
or I'm sorry,
he
got
was
a
that
motor,
good.
yeah.
Yeah,
Electric.
he was that good up that climb that people are like, that wasn't possible what
Right.
he did.
Yeah.
I still like in my head to believe that it was like non-motor assisted, but
Sure.
But let me
And
break
then
down
it's
the
After
numbers.
that, I think he gets flat, or I feel like he time trials away from
He
people
does,
at the top
yeah.
or whatever. I mean,
Stayed away from
was-
everybody.
yeah.
So I will give the numbers on the Koppenberg here for anybody who has ever gone up a climb. This would be hard on the smoothest of pavement. The Koppenberg is cobbled, which means the fact that like keeping your wheels on the ground would be difficult. It's 22% gradient for 620 meters and 64 meters of elevation gain in those 620 meters.
Wow.
On cobbles with a hard left turn at one point, a very hard left turn.
Yeah.
And it goes straight up to 20% the second it starts. So you hit cobbles and you're at 20%.
Yeah.
So there's you can look up pictures of it all day, but there's professional cyclists falling over on this climb.
That ride has been known to get wet.
Yes.
What's it like riding cobbles when it's wet?
That would be. Anybody want to comment on our video saying if you have ridden cobbles wet? I would love to hear that experience.
Yeah, it could be
gosh.
nuts.
Yeah,
Kind of liking
that would
that
be
almost to
crazy.
like here in the Pacific Northwest, you get some of these little paths that'll be off to the side and they'll have some tree cover. And when it gets wet here, you'll get a little bit of like a green, mossy, slicky thing on there.
Mm-hmm.
There's times where you'll try and come up some of these little grades or these little bike paths. You just can't.
You're slipping out.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a steep grade coming up Prune Hill, and they're covered in that green mossy stuff, and you just can't get any bite on there. So I gotta imagine
cobbles, I
that the
couldn't-
cobbles are somewhat similar to that. It's
Yeah.
just gotta be nuts trying to get up some of that.
And the Koppenberg too, I don't think has any like dirt side to it.
Yeah.
So you can't do what they do in Roubaix where they try to get onto the side. You have to ride on the cobbles.
Yeah.
So
I rode on the cobbles on Zwift the other day. It wasn't too bad.
really, there you go. Did your like a little climber thing like bounce up and down for you?
The Tax Neo actually has that built
Yeah.
into
Does
it.
it?
So yeah, when you
Oh,
ride over
that
the
is
cobbles
too
on
cool.
Zwift, it vibrates on you. So.
Or bridges. There's a couple of little places where it vibrates. I
Yeah.
don't think it's a lot.
yeah,
I don't know.
but you're supposed to get some of that taptic feedback. So
Yeah. I
Kinda neat.
saw Peter Sagan did win Paris-Roubaix last year, so
Yeah.
you
Yep.
were correct on
Yep.
your memory.
Who was
held
the
up.
gentleman? And people shared the story with me after I had my accident. My shoulder got destroyed. That crashed 6 weeks out from the Paris-Roubaix. Was he on the Addicts team, the Quick Step team?
Let me
And
think.
he broke his arm. And it was 6 weeks out from Paris-Roubaix. And he
I remember
spent
this,
those
yeah.
6 weeks riding on Zwift, riding
Yeah.
his butt off, came back and actually won Paris-Roubaix. And this was probably 2012, 13, 14, somewhere in
Yeah.
there.
Let me look it up.
Was
It's not
it-
Greg Van
was it
Avermaet.
Bonin?
It wasn't.
No, it wasn't Van Avermaet. But
Gilbert? Was it Gilbert
no,
at that time period?
No. Gosh, I don't know. We'll
John
have-
Degenkolb.
Nope.
Was it?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Shoot.
We're all just naming guys who are usually good at Paris-Roubaix. That's
Exactly. So
Matthew Heyman.
yes, that's who it was.
Oh,
I remember
So-
that story. That was pretty
And
interesting.
it was just
What a champ.
Yeah, it was an epic finish for him too. It's just such a
That's
neat thing to see
amazing.
him.
And he
So
posted all of his data from that ride online, and you can go like check it out. I think it's on Strava or something like that. You can watch, like, you look at his power data. It's
That's
crazy.
awesome.
Yeah.
all right, move on to the next one.
Okay.
all right. So here's the last little segment we'll talk about here, because if you're watching, so we just talked about the 1-day races, which are awesome, but I also love your Grand Tours. So with the Grand Tours, this is a funny story that my dad told me once. this is whenever you're trying to explain professional bike racing to somebody who has never seen it before. My dad had a friend at work who, I forget what year this was. This was 2001 or 2, when Lance was probably like quite a bit of time away from the leader, who was whoever who had won the early sprints. So some sprinter was wearing the yellow jersey, as they almost always do if it starts on a sprint stage. And you would, somebody watching that race would be like, well, like, is that guy going to win the race? Like let's say like Cipollini from back in the, when he was the Italian sprinter, let's say he was holding the yellow jersey for a day.
Yeah.
Be reasonable to ask, like, well, can this guy hold on? No, absolutely not. No. And my dad was on a bet with a friend at work. I think Lance was losing by like, quote unquote, losing by 5 minutes. And my dad told me, he's like, I guarantee Lance wins the Tour this year. And he was like, no, there's no way. He's 5 minutes behind. That's a lot of time, right? And of course, Lance comes back and win the Tour, and whoever was holding the yellow jersey probably didn't even finish the Tour that year.
Yeah.
But this is where you talk about in the Grand Tour, each team, and this is kind of changing as we get in. Each team now seems to bring like almost 2 contenders sometimes.
Yeah, like Movistar and
Sky, and I mean, there's a BMC usually brings a couple.
They had a
too.
couple guys that could have done it too.
But usually, historically, when you see the numbers on the back of their jersey, anybody who's wearing a 1 as their last number is the team leader.
Yeah.
So that's your guy who you were getting behind for the GC, or if you're a team that's coming for stage hunting, which is you're just trying to win stages.
Yeah.
Your 1 can be the guy who's like got the best chance at that.
Yeah.
A lot of the continental, so the French continental teams, that'll bring their team in will usually have some guy who they're just trying to get into the breakaway.
Yeah.
But this is where you talk about, you have your domestique, which is a term you've probably heard, and your GC contender. Your GC contender being the guy wearing the 1 on their jersey, everybody else being a domestique. And classically, there are, like, I love the legendary domestiques, the guys who were never even close to the top of the boards. Like the best example, we can all name our favorite ones, but Jans Voigt.
Yeah.
Jans Voigt was always my favorite.
Yeah.
That
Shut
guy,
up, legs.
yeah, I mean, that guy would sit on the front. There was back when Andy and Frank Schleck, brothers who were very, very good for Trek Segafredo, really fell off. I mean, great. Like they battled back and forth with Contador in his prime. Jans Voigt had, I forget what stage it was. He sat on the front to break apart that group like Sky does now, but he does it just more heroically somehow. There's like something cooler about him. You can just see it on his face. Like the guy just thrashed himself for like a half hour on the front and breaks up the group, and Andy goes on and wins the stage.
Yeah.
It's because Team Sky has like 3 or 4 guys doing it, and it was just Jans Voigt. I mean,
it was just, I mean, like Trek was like, all right, what domestiques do we have that can hold that? Just Jans. Okay, 30 minutes Jans go. And that was basically what it was for
they would refer to those primary domestiques as their main lieutenant, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And that would be the guy that was like your massive disruptor that would always be serving the number 1. So
the guy who, if he didn't have that role, probably could be a top 10 finisher.
Yeah. He's a very selfless guy that has a huge capacity. And
George Hincapie is the American lieutenant. I mean, he was the lieutenant.
You'll hear announcers say like super domestique, which is like potentially someone who could be a contender on their own, and now they're helping out someone else instead. It's
almost fun to play that role sometimes, because if I got to play that role for either one of you and you guys won, I would feel like I won.
Yes,
and
exactly. Yeah.
It not for nothing. It's hard. You got to go out there and work your butt off, but when you're getting ready for a race and you know that that's your only job is to go out there and support one of your teammates for that particular day, it takes so much pressure off of me personally. But I think for a lot of people in general, when you know in the back of your head, I'm not trying to win this race. No. I'm just going to go out there and make everybody else hurt, and I'm going to have fun doing it, and I'm going to hopefully put my teammate in a position to win.
Yeah.
That is fun.
And it takes a special type of personality to do that, because I mean, think about the level of fitness that takes.
Yeah.
You're right there with everybody else who's trying to win that race.
Yeah.
But you're basically taking it on yourself to say, I don't care if I finish dead last in this race.
Yeah, one of my favorite races in 2018 was the Kings Valley Road Race. Mm-hmm. And that was because the goal was to send Sean and Chris, 2 of our teammates, out. And it was fun, just like playing protagonists, and you kind of start to get a little bit of a reputation about yourself when you're riding really well. So whenever you're going on attack, the whole field gets up and starts chasing you down, and you're thinking in the back of your head, like, haha, I'm just trying to wear out your legs.
You're the carrot.
Yeah, exactly. And it worked. It
Yeah.
worked splendidly. I mean, there was a couple of times where we broke away, and Sean did a fantastic job of getting Chris even further out there, and Chris made it stick and won on a solo break.
Yeah.
So that was super fun. And playing that role of Domestique for myself and even Sean, for Chris to win was spectacular.
Yeah.
It was such a great day.
Yeah.
So
This is where cycling is so much more of a team sport than people realize until they start
Yeah.
watching it.
Yeah.
There's no way you win a race without a team.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
interesting because
There's like one guy in the world who can do that. Peter Sagan. There, I mean,
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
Literally one guy in the entire world who can do that.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
It's interesting. It's running and swimming. It's not like that.
No.
You don't have any
So,
of that.
swimming, you're literally in separate lanes.
Yeah.
Like there's actually.
Well, and running, you're all in there together, and there's drafting and things like that.
Yeah.
But it's just not the same.
And again,
Yeah.
it's specific to road racing. You
Yep.
don't see that in mountain biking. You
Or
don't really see that in
cyclocross.
cyclocross. and
Cyclocross you
see
don't
it in
either,
time trialing. So it's
Yeah.
it's just that road that has that
Yeah.
chess component to it. That's what I love about road racing.
It is.
It's a lot of fun.
It's such a math equation too. Sometimes it's very,
But
very
and
cool.
crit racing is too crazy too, right?
It has a little bit of a
Crit's
team.
got its strategy.
It's
It
got
does.
strategy and some
Well, it
team
has
component
strategy
there.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, team components. You have lead out stuff for sure.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
Yeah.
Do some.
So, but I'm thinking like
Crit-
domestique style stuff. It doesn't seem like it
Yeah.
has that. And probably 'cause of the
Crits to
length of
me
the-
were always like, well, this is also because I was terrible at crits, but
Okay.
my goal was about 8-9 laps out from the finish, try and go. If it doesn't work, game over.
Yeah.
So you're either trying to go early or you stick in for the sprint.
Yeah.
There's only
So-
two options.
For all the triathlon people out there listening to you right now, do you want to explain to them what a crit or AKA criterium?
Criterium racing is
Yeah.
So criterium racing is basically take a road race course. Let's say you do a 24-mile loop on a road race course and shrink it down to like a mile or a quarter or like 3/4 of a mile.
Yeah, it's like 4, 5, maybe 6 turns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do a ton of laps on it.
Yep.
And there's kind of sprinkled in incentives too. Some races will have preem laps.
Yes.
A preem lap being they'll usually ring the bell.
Uh-huh.
Every race I've ever done, they
So you
always
know
ring
that
the bell.
particular lap,
Yeah.
there's incentive
Yeah.
to be the first one across the line. So it's a race within a race.
Exactly. Usually like tubes or tires. Popcorn once. I saw popcorn
Beer.
once.
Nice.
Beer.
Now-
Yeah.
There are some certain races too where you actually get points, and it could be a point race.
Mm-hmm.
It could be one of those things where like you get a certain amount of points for being the first finisher, but within the race there could be like 2, 3, 4 preems, and you get points for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the PIR, the Portland International Raceway, is a perfect example of that. That's how that works. It's a points race, so it's not necessarily
Yeah.
the person that's the first one across the line at the finish. It's whoever has the most cumulative points. And
See, this is where I love that Criterium Racing does that because it's a
Yeah.
lot like the green jersey in the Tour de
Yeah,
France.
yeah.
So it's like, do you want to save all your bullets for that final sprint and get the mass points?
yeah,
Or do you want to be the guy who gets second
yeah.
at a bunch of preem laps and then on the last one maybe gets 7th or 8th, but you accumulate a lot of
Yeah.
points?
So
yeah.
you've got to be paying attention to all the characters involved. You got to know
Yeah.
who's got it in them. And
Yeah.
then you got to pay attention to those guys. And then you got to keep point tabs on them. And you got to keep
Yeah.
point tabs on yourself. And then you got to save enough bullets for the end of the race so that you can put yourself across the finish line in a position where you get enough points to place as high as possible.
It's like the most exhausting 45 minutes.
Yeah.
which is more exhausting. I'm not somebody who has raced cyclocross. Which is more exhausting, a cyclocross or crit race? On average, I know it depends on the type of race.
If you're going to
but
just
yeah.
compare time to time, I'd have to say that a cross race is more difficult. That's just my 2 cents. Because
probably by wattage.
Yeah,
probably.
you can't sit in at all on a cross
Yeah.
race. I mean, you're pretty much just out there just laying down watts and going as hard as you can, and you're sucking in dirt and you're running and jumping off your bike. I mean, there's just a lot of variables there. A crit race, you can kind of get lost in there just a little bit. I don't know. I'd rather do a cross race though, because the crashing doesn't hurt as bad.
Oh God, yeah. Seriously, a little bit slower speeds.
All right, moving on.
Okay. That's about all that I do have also. So here's another French word. I'm sure I'm butchering these. I hope we have somebody French listening who can just correct me on all this, but Rollier is the next. Rollier? Rollier.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. I was wrong on this. So I have my whole life thought Rollier was the guy who's good at literally a rolling course.
That's probably correct. So the reference point that we're referring to a lot of these different types of riders is something that Sean Henry sent me yesterday, which was cool because he did this test on Sufferfest, and it says a whole bunch of stuff about you, FTP, all this different things, and it also says like what type of rider you are. And then Sean was dubbed an attacker. But Sean, definitely thanks for sending this our way. And, any of our listeners that want to send us topics for us to discuss, like, go for it. Please do, because it's awesome to have the feedback. But just because the Sufferfest has, a Rollier and, an all-arounder kind of being described as the same thing, I don't know if that's necessarily true. I don't know if this is like a definitive definition.
Yeah, and this is where I think all-arounder is an interesting term in cycling, because I mean, how do you really define an all-rounder obviously would be somebody who's good at all things, but are there some things that may be more important than others? Like to me, it would still need to be somebody who can climb well. Yeah. Because if you can't climb well, you're not going to be there at the end of any race, or any big time race. So I think it's that guy who's not, your tiny, super lean, high watts per kilo guy, but doesn't have a, 1500 plus 5-second sprint. Yeah. So, I think this is where you're putting it more as that guy who in the group ride can sit there and take pull after pull after pull, no matter the terrain, and be pretty strong the whole time. He's not going to be the first guy up the climb, but he's going to be there
in the mix. Yeah.
He's always going to be in the mix. Yeah. And always pushing the pace.
Yeah, so I think it's hard to define some of these things for sure.
For an all-arounder, if you go online, you look on the old Wikipedia, they
the
will
wiki.
define it as a racing cyclist who excels in both climbing and time trialing and may be a decent sprinter. In stage races, an all-arounder is likely to place well in the GC.
So in this Sufferfest article, they mention people like Peter Sagan, who, if you use that definition, he can't time trial very well. I mean, he's way better than us, but like he's still on that
serviceable,
on that scale. He's
but
not
I mean,
a time trialist.
On like Von 2, he's getting dropped out the he's getting dropped off the caboose.
But
like
he's not trying either.
Yeah, that's
now,
true.
If
that's
you were to
not
tell
his
him like,
stage.
hey, if you go win that, if you get to that top before anybody else, and you put like a big dollar sign on it, he's going to go after it.
Yeah.
So he's playing his part. He knows his role.
He could go after it.
This is where I would put
Von 2. He would not be one of the top guys.
No, he's not going to beat the likes of Chris Froome or whomever. Just
any of the climbers.
Quintana or anybody like that.
I would say like right now I would say Julian Alaphilippe or Valverde or Philippe Gilbert. I feel like those are all rounders. Sagan, I mean, is an incredible cyclist and probably could be put into that group, but he's almost too far to that sprint side because Sagan can line up and win a sprint too.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But I think when you talk about any one-day classic, any one-day race,
that's true.
You always have to talk about him, regardless of. Well,
you do, yeah.
Although, let me backtrack on that.
He doesn't have a great classics record though, compared to one of the greats like Cancellara. No, compared to 99% of your cyclists, yes, he does.
Cancellara a good all-arounder? I mean, he can time trial. He can climb on those classics
on
races.
Koppenberg,
other times he's not super well known for climbing.
Yeah,
but it's.
I would put Fabian Moore as just a time. I'm not gonna say just a time trialist because he has a great classics record.
Yeah,
but that was his thing. Is he would 20K out, get away, and stay away. Yeah. He's done it a couple times late in races, but he was very rarely. I think maybe once or twice his career line up and win a group sprint.
I think that our best definition would be someone like Valverde.
Yes,
who. Is going to do well in classics, is going to do well in stage races. So that's multiple types of terrain and just very different types of racing. And he'll be kind of in the mix all the time. So I think he's a good option. Yeah. I think he's a better choice for kind of that all-around person than someone like Peter Sagan.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a tough call.
They're saying here that one of the best all-time all-arounders would be Mr. Eddie Merckx.
Yeah.
So, and then the notable all-arounders more recently, Armstrong, Alberto Contador, Nibali, and Chris Froome.
Armstrong.
Some of these,
that's what they have listed.
Yeah, He won. He won a world championship when he was young.
Yeah, time trialing. He was strong in time trials.
The best. Yeah,
and could climb because that's part of the game, right? I don't know. And same thing with like Froome and any of the guys that are that are contenders for the whole thing are going to be able to time trial and climb.
Yeah.
So.
Because
that kind of depends on how you define that.
I define those guys as GC contenders. If you can time trial and climb, you're a GC contender. An all-rounder to me is also somebody who needs to be good in one-day classics too, or at least competitive in one-day classics. Yeah.
So I have one final question on this whole topic.
Yeah.
If you, knowing what you are, is that where you would want? Is that the person or the type of cyclist you want to be? And if not, what would you want to be? Besides
Well,
an
aren't
all-rounder.
all-
Besides an
all of us
all-rounder.
say all-arounder.
Yeah, besides an all-rounder, what would you want to be? It has to be different than what you are now. Or
I
what would
would-
you classify yourself as right
I
now?
would so I'll say what I want to be and then what I am.
Uh-huh.
I would love to be an attacker, being somebody who can put out great 2 to 3 minute power again and again. I think an attacker is somebody with really good lactate threshold recovery.
Yeah.
Am I that? No, I don't think I'm that.
Yeah.
But what I am is deadpan average, okay time trialist climber.
Oh, you got that build.
Climber.
Yeah. But the thing is, I don't consider myself only a pure climber
Well,
because I mean,
the way we race.
I'm not sure if I'm
is-
small enough to be in the cycling world a pure climber.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I'm gonna be very similar to you, right? Like,
Yeah.
you just think body types and things like that.
This is what a lot of your triathletes are going to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like we're gonna be okay time trialists,
Serviceable. Yeah.
okay time trialists, and maybe decent climbers.
Yeah.
If, you know, but
Especially if you came from running, you know, you're
Yeah.
going to be a climber by nature. Yeah.
maybe. Yeah.
How about
I
you,
don't know.
Matt?
Yeah. So, what would I want to be besides all arounder? I don't know. I think sprinting would be really fun, right? I just think
That's the other side of the spectrum.
I think one of the cycling types that they defined in here was a pursuiter, which is someone that can go with like 5 minutes, you know, or something like that. Like they don't have that last surge, but they can go from 5 minutes out, which I think is pretty cool. I mean, one of those people that's like, if he gets away, he's got it.
Those are the heroic bike wins. I mean, bike
They're
race
cool.
wins. Think like the best moments in cycling history are always like where a guy goes away at like the 10K mark and somehow stays away.
Somehow pulls
Yeah.
it off.
That's
I-
very
yeah, I
rare.
think that's pretty cool. So maybe something like that. I mean, I think time trialist is cool just because that's, you know, what triathletes kind of lend themselves towards. But yeah, I think pursuiter would be pretty cool. I mean, 5 minutes out, bam, go, and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hope they give you just a minute, right? Like
Yeah.
that hesitation. Wait, is
Yeah.
that the go? Yep,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, that's kind of like your Jens Voigt too. I mean, he would
that's
go a
exactly
lot
what
further
Jens
out than, but yeah,
Yep.
he'd love to
Yeah.
go. He's always
Yeah.
attacking. You
And
know?
that's why Jans Voigt and Philippe Gilbert were two of my favorite cyclists
Yeah.
because Gilbert was that thing. You knew he was going at 10K,
Yeah.
and you knew the group had to look at each other and be like, "Oh crap, do we let him go? Like, how much do we give him?"
Yeah.
Well, do you think Vincenzo Nibali is like that too, but on the hills? Like, I just felt like, what
Yeah,
year
'cause-
did he win?
Well,
He
he'll
won-
he'll go anywhere because he's won San Remo too, and I mean he'll go. He won Mont San Remo just by gapping on a descent.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, it's that type of rider that
Yeah.
can just at any moment in that last 20K of a race, you don't know when he's going
right.
to go.
I mean, and it was more on climbs and stuff like that. But I remember just thinking like, I mean, you know when he's going to go. He's the 5K to go on the climb. Like he will go, and it's just a matter of will anyone be able
Who
to hang?
who can stay with him? Yeah.
So things might be different when he's hanging on, but
Yeah.
in the case where he's in the driver's seat, like that's what he does. Like that's
Yep.
the playbook.
Yeah.
Everyone knows what's gonna happen.
God, I'd
there.
love to be able to do that on a climb.
Oh, yeah.
Right on.
All right, Jake.
I think I would. Was it the French term puncheur? Like a puncher?
Puncher. Yeah.
That, I think that's me. Someone who specializes in the rolling terrain, short but steep climbs. I think that I've got the ability to put out the watts, and it's not so long that my mass catches up with me.
I think your KOMs would definitely prove that.
Yeah.
But most of your KOMs are those type of rides.
Yeah, and then I really the domestique. I love that role. I love that
Yeah.
position. I love winning bike races. Don't get me wrong, but I get like more satisfaction out of helping others, and I think that that's a really spectacular thing. So,
Yeah.
all right.
All right. So when are we all going to sign with these teams? Because I mean, we just dropped all these riders. Now we got to ride with them, right?
It seems to me
Yeah.
like the dialed cycling team is just a whole bunch of domestiques. Like all of us,
Just, yeah.
the whole team is
Do
just
we
kind of like.
do we have any like pure finishers on the team? You know, the guys who just like whether you're a pure sprinter or just like an elite climber, and that's like, do we have anybody?
For the climbing, gosh, I mean,
Chris Handel's a great climber.
he's a great climber.
Jordan's a great climber.
Jordan is definitely another great
But Jordan
climber.
doesn't race that much.
Yeah.
He raced a little bit more last year. I think
That's
he's
awesome.
going to come
Yeah,
out.
he'll
Hopefully,
race quite a
fingers
bit
crossed.
this year.
Yeah,
Nice.
that guy's got a big motor, and he's so trained always.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like he's ever out of
He
shape.
rides
so.
a lot of miles. Yeah.
Mister, I ride 10 to 12,000 miles a year. So,
Jeez.
but yeah, in terms of like a pure finisher, sprint wise, I don't know.
You would be the sprinter, right?
I've won a few sprints.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Lance, as soon as he decides to, I don't think I'm going to win a 5 race. Jeez, come on.
No,
You kidding me, Lance?
Oh, golly gee, guys.
I know. I just don't think I have the finishing power.
We can make fun of him because he's not here, right?
I think we can.
Because he's on a boat. Yeah.
I don't
All right.
know.
It's gonna be fun to watch him race this year.
I know.
Yep. All right, let's do one last thing.
All right.
Run around the table. One last thing.
Matt, you go first.
Oh my gosh, I don't have anything. Okay, I'll always say thanks to our listeners and thanks for anyone that is interested in chiming in and watching our live stream. You can go to the YouTube channel. If you hop on YouTube and you search for Dialed Podcast, we should be up on the list, and you should subscribe to the Dial Podcast while you're subscribing to YouTube channels. You can hop on over to my channel, which is youtube.com/mlegrand. You can learn all about triathlon, which I know you guys are dying to know
There's
about.
more than just triathlon stuff.
There
And there's,
might be.
There's things
There
sprinkled
might be.
in there for just about everybody that likes the endurance stuff.
Yes.
So
And so I think this week I'm going to talk about swimming and stroke rate, which is pretty interesting. Actually, Evan, you might want to check that out. It's there's going to be I'm going to talk about a little
Matt, there's children listening to this show.
Yes. There's this little metronome thing that you can
Continue, Matt. Yes.
Sorry.
little metronome thing called a tempo trainer, and you can basically it just beeps at you, and you can kind of start swimming to a specific stroke rate, which is cool. Jake. And then I'm going to talk about track work as well this week. So some cool videos coming out for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And Evan, some of your
I was going to say
videography work might show up.
I was actually
on YouTube.
that was going to be so. My one last thing is that'll be fun to see. I kind of
Yes.
want to see what Matt's going to put together, and also anybody on Saturday mornings who likes to run and likes to do stuff on tracks, please come join me because I was lonely this
Were you?
last Saturday morning.
everybody was out riding.
Gotta figure
I know.
out the timing of stuff
I
because
know, and it's cold in the mornings. I will admit the track was icy. So
on this coming Saturday, I'm going to do an indoor triathlon, which is
Ooh.
weird. It's like a 10-minute swim. See
Is
how
that at
far you can go.
Lacamas?
Yeah. 10-minute swim, see how far you can go. 20-minute bike ride, see how far you can go. 10-minute run, see how far you can go. It's going to be super weird.
When-
Are you running on a treadmill?
when is
Run on a
that?
treadmill.
When
Yeah.
is that?
It's Saturday morning. I don't know what time.
How
I got to
early?
figure it out before I
I won't be there.
Yeah.
Am
you
I-
could do the bike part.
Am I maybe allowed to join?
Yeah.
I'll
I think
think about
anyone.
joining.
Yeah. I mean, you'll destroy all of us.
I'm not sure about
But
that.
you know what? You
yeah.
would have fun, and it would be.
It sounds like a fun little workout. Yeah.
I know. I'm doing it because I don't think I'll do that well, and I think it'll be motivating to get my butt kicked. So it's good.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
One last thing, Evan.
That was my one last thing. Is
Yeah,
somebody
one
come
last
and
thing
join me on Saturday at the track.
It's something that I want to do.
Oh, okay. Well, Jake can bring his cross bike, and you can do the
there it
infield
is.
Supposed to say and a ride.
and a ride
Okay.
there. Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah.
All right, my one last thing is I just want to thank again and Evan for the people who are watching. Can you take little said trophy and show it to the folks?
I was going to
on the
suggest that
YouTubes?
earlier. Yeah. The trophy is probably hard to see on the live stream,
Yeah,
but it
don't
is.
get hung up with your headphones there, buddy. But go put that in front of the camera just so they can see that.
It's actually really cool.
Yeah,
It's. I didn't realize that the team championship trophy. I mean, this thing is nice.
It's pretty stinking sweet. So we were. I still can't believe we won. At the beginning of the year, we talked about finishing in the top 3, and to have more points.
I remember that.
than
That was the
second, third
goal, was
combined
top 3.
just nuts. So, and we still got shorted points, you guys. But I'm not going to go there.
That's
We're missing several hundred more points. But
there were too many points. You get to the point where you can't keep on counting it up.
yeah.
I can tell you, as someone that manages all those points things, they're a nightmare to keep track
Yeah.
of.
Oh, I'd
Because
imagine, yeah.
if you're taking points away from a team and redistributing them with other teams, it's just like you just realize it's going to be an absolute nightmare. It's just a mess. But
So
it's okay. Keep
that-
up the good work, Obra.
Yeah, that's my one last thing is just thanks to everybody on our team who went out and raced. I'm looking forward to 2019. It's just right around the corner. Season
That's
starts
crazy.
in
That's
less
crazy.
than 2 months now, if you can believe that or
When
not.
did Jack Frost? First week in March?
March 10th.
March 10th.
Yeah.
You
We've
got to
got,
do that one, right? You're going to do March 10th? You're
Yep.
okay with that date?
Yeah.
Okay.
we've
I
got our
think-
training camp coming up in about a month.
I'm going to try to recruit a lot of people to do that Jack Frost race because
Yeah.
I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
We always have a bet for Jack Frost, Jake. What's it going to be this year? Me and you.
Oh, jeez. I'm going to be on the TT bike, so
Yep.
it's going
Yeah, I
to
know.
be
We got to change it up.
straight up. I got to be able to keep up with you.
Well, all right, we'll figure it out. We'll come up.
Jake's gonna struggle to keep up,
Tune into
whatever.
another podcast where Jake and I will negotiate some sort of bet for
Yeah.
the Jack Frost time trial.
Yeah, that'll be fun and interesting. If I can get into that position, I think I'm going to try and give you a run for your money.
Yeah,
My legs feel freaking good right now.
Yeah.
So
I know.
Yeah.
Well, you could, yeah.
I don't think his shoulder's gonna hold him back, Matt. I would
No,
not
no,
be.
no.
Yeah.
The bet is usually something along the lines of like me with all the time trialing gear versus Jake on a bike, and I
On a steel bike.
on a steel bike, but I haven't won yet. So
Yeah.
so we're safe, but it's still fun to bet. I mean,
We'll come up with like a handicap for the bet and see if you can stay on that.
That's what we're gonna. Yeah.
Or we can make him your 2-minute man or something.
Yeah,
like
we'll have to make a little video.
that'd be
when
fun.
we go out to
Do some
have me
training.
just shake that bike down.
Yeah.
Go out to the Frenchman's Bar
would love
area,
to do
and
that.
we'll kind of go play bikes out there and
If I
come up with a little bet while we're out there.
Yeah. If I get mine set up in time, we can go out there
Sure.
as a team. Ooh,
Sure.
that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Look
Yeah.
on- everybody's
Super
on this,
fun.
Everybody's
Yeah.
on their sleek all black because your truck's all black too, right? Oh, it'll be like black matted out crew. That's gonna be cool.
So, all right, that is a wrap for this show, you guys. It was fun. Missing Lance, he will be back next week if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think he will
So-
because it was a 10-day trip. He should be back.
So he's
Lance will be back. More of Lance than ever. With,
Yes.
with his eating.
Evan Romance will be gone.
Evan Romance will be gone.
If you guys want to, like Matt said, subscribe to our YouTube channel, it's just Dow Podcast, and go in there and give us a subscribe and a little bell thingy, whatever that is, to get notifications of our live streams and other things that we'll be posting. Check us out on Facebook at Dow Podcast and the Instagrams at Dow Podcast. I shared all that information with you and
The gram.
Lance, with Matt and Lance. Did you guys happen to post any pictures this past week? No,
I gotta get on that.
I was so stinking busy.
We
I
need to
didn't have
take
2
some
seconds.
Monday pictures, like
Okay.
at the pool just before we start swimming and
Yeah.
stuff. We can take some pictures.
That's one thing that I am looking forward to more than just being outside.
Yep.
More than anything, is just being able to take pictures again. I love taking pictures.
Yep.
I can't do that when I'm sitting on the trainer. Nobody wants to see a big sweaty guy with a big
You
sweaty
gotta-
puddle of water underneath him riding his bike indoors. It's like, woo.
Yeah.
So I'll share more when we get to that. So anyway, you guys, thanks for listening so much. We really appreciate that. We will see you next week. Bye for now.